Mentoring is really important to ISM. How important is it for you to help those guys who are perhaps inexperienced, who perhaps might feel the pressure a lot more than you, going into those big occasions?
Massive. It's massive. I'm starting a mentoring company. We're going to have a mentoring scheme where I think it's imperative that listen, I think society, but of course we can streamline it and talk about the profession we're in, that the mind is as powerful as the body. So we train rigorously every day on our body, on our fitness. And I feel that you have to do the same thing with your mind, because listen, I feel like when you attach football or footballer in front of anything, I think people perceive footballers as like some superheroes. Well, you don't have problems, you don't. And I kid you not, football, for all its great things, because it's given me so much in life, and I'm so thankful. And as a kid, that's what I wanted to do. Football is harsh. You know, people only see the game. They literally don't see what goes on during the week. They don't see that, you know what, at times you feel like hired help. They don't understand that, especially the players in the lower leagues, that, you know, if you have a bad season, you could be at the game the next season. You don't see that. So the mental side of it, I think it's powerful. You can therefore help somebody by saying, look, this is what I went through. I'm not saying you have to do it exactly like me, but this is what I went through. And I think that maybe you should try it this way. And then it's for them to kind of fuse it and put their own sauce on it. I felt it wasn't best handled for me. Whereas at the time, the gaffer's thinking, well, look, ours is thinking, listen, I'm going to let B go regardless, but I don't really want it to come out too tough because we've got a massive game coming up. So win, lose or draw, oh, well, can only win or lose, you know what I mean? Win, lose, I'm going to let him go. So for me, it was, okay, I get all that. But at the end of the day, for myself, I'm left. Because at the time, I got interviewed. How do you feel now? You scored, rah, rah. And me, it was off the cuff. I'm like, listen, yeah, I'm technically unemployed. So if people are watching this game, come get this striker. So for myself, there was no animosity. Anybody who's seen me since, but in the moment, I get caught up in the moment. I always speak my mind. I try and be as authentic as possible. So it wasn't really me like calling them out per se. It was just camera or not camera. That's what I would have said. And it just happened to be with being there with a camera. So fearful wasn't fearful. I would be lying if I knew if the next 4.5 years was going to go the way it went. I didn't, you know what I'm saying? But I knew there was still life left in me, so I wasn't worried at that time, you know what I mean?
Well, it just took off after that for you, didn't it? But it's that thing about rejection. Obviously, at that time, at 34, you're already a strong mentally.
Yeah.
I mean, for kids, when they get rejected, it's a completely different ballgame, isn't it? Do you see a shift in the way these rejections or these releases of players are handled, or is it still very much old school?
Do you know what it is now? I think it should be mandatory that there's a process put in place where you're dealing with them on a human level, in the sense of their mindset, in the sense of, look, and I've had this debate many times. Some people say, the elite say, look, don't have a backup plan, because if you have a backup plan, that means you're not putting your all in to what you want, you know? So some people have that mentality. Whereas my mum was like, look, put your all into it, but have a backup plan, because you never know. That was my mumsy from young. So I think clubs have to do more in the sense, because look,
aftercare, basically.
There has to be an aftercare, because I feel, this is what I say about footballers. I think footballers get held to a different standard to football clubs. So footballers will get, you're greedy, you're this, but tell me when a club has released a player and then ask them when they paid their bill, or Wednesdays, they don't. It's literally a machine. The pressure has to be to a point where it's, look, not that you got to keep going, but what if? So if you don't make it here, Are you going to continue trialing? If not, are you going to go to school? So these kids coming up, there's got to be a path. A kid will get released and to his response, I'm done, I'm a failure, I won't make it again. Whereas every adult that's tried something has failed. And then they've got up, and we know that because there's not one person on this planet that has only succeeded. Mm-hmm. And that what needs to be drummed in from early to these kids. Nobody's saying, look, we're not saying you're not going to make it. We're saying that you may not make it. And if you don't make it, this is what needs to come into play. So I do feel like as much as it's a business, there has to be a duty to care for especially the youngsters coming up in the game. You are going to get people who are strictly about the dollar bill or the pound bill, whatever it is. And you have to get people that's for you. So your best interest has to come into play, especially when you're young. Especially when you're young, your best interest. I've had the same agent for 16, 17 years. I won't change that. And before that, I had agents that, you know what, I was just a name. Didn't know me as a person. I was just a name. And you're going to find that. And sometimes I do feel like it's trial and error. Listen, look, it's rare that we find our perfect one. So we date.
It's not like Jerry Maguire, is it?
You get me? You do date, you find it. So sometimes you do have to go through it, and it's experiences. But you have to be careful who you put around you. You literally have to take as much time in who's for you and not just who's around you.
Not everyone's going to become like a cult hero like you are with your beast mode.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, but you've always had that on the back burner, haven't you? Your whole branding thing, and that's massive now, isn't it? Beast mode. You really captured the imagination of football fans.
Yeah, at the age of 30, 29, 30 I realised, when I hang up my boots, I'm going to have to work again. Like, period. Like, I'm going to have to work. And what happens in football, because football is such a specific industry, when you come out of football, you're starting again, period. So now you're literally in the workforce. So for them 15 years, especially in the lower leagues, you have been whatever in hiatus. And then you come into the real world and then you're like literally starting at the bottom. So, of course, at 30, I was like, yo, listen, I better start putting some things into place for when I got to hang up my boots. I didn't set out to be different. I didn't set out to bench 190 kg. I didn't set out to be the biggest footballer, literally, not, you know what I'm saying, by name. I didn't set out to be that. But also, I didn't shy away from it, and I think that's the most powerful thing as an individual is finding out who and what you are and being comfortable with it. You know what? For me, I'm like, it's funny because we are sitting down talking to Amazon and Netflix about a few things. There is the WWE that keeps popping up.
Beast mode wrestling, I love it.
That keeps popping up. But you know what? For me, I said this to the gaffer: you earn every penny out of this body. My body's feeling this way because I've played what I've played. But this season, it's moved to. Before I'd want to play every game, and I still want to play, but I understand that my body's not built like that. So the next generation that's coming through, I'm enjoying that. This is what we should do, boys. This is how we should do it. That's it. Focus. Bring your sauce. Do you? I don't think I could be a coach with the jacket and the hat on the side.
No, it's too much stress. I don't know how Gareth does it with his leather jacket as well.
It's too much.
Does he not feel the cold, the man?
Listen, he thinks he's a soldier. Literally, he's a strong man. I'm not going to lie to him, but he's forever got his shirt. He's got his hamburger chest out and that. Man. Listen, I can't do it.
And one more, I'll tell you what I can do. I'm going to have a word with Ray Winston, get you on his next film. You look like you could be a henchman.
You know what? I'm telling you, Ray Winston, legend in the game. Tell him his next film, holler at me. I'm security. I'm shutting it down. We can do this. You know what I'm saying? We got this. All right, blessings.